right, guys. Quick shout out here. My MetaFi is home of all the guest primers, all the free tournaments, all the giveaways, and all my personal guides. These guys in front of you are freshly updated over there. You see Issa Tempo, Beanstalk Control, Jeskai Wizards, Eldrazi Aggro, Blue-Eyed Riddler, Demir Tempo, Affinity, Omniscience. All these and more you find over on my MetaFi. Use code ECO50 for a juicy 50% off your first month as a Book Smart Baron. I can't wait to see you over there. All right, guys, we're here with another battle of the basement. I'm playing against BoshNRoll, and I've brought some sweet decks to play. Remember, we're not playing, top performing decks in Legacy. We're playing experimental stuff that actually has legs to do well. And I spent some time at the release of Moonshadow to work on different shells, and a lot of players quickly identified that it goes like peanut butter and jelly with Dragon Rage Channeler. The Moonshadow will grow every time you surveil a permanent to the graveyard. You also want baubles with both of those cards. When you have baubles and, different types, you also want Nethergoyf. So now we find ourselves with a critical mass of 12 1-drops. Mana base is going to be pretty straightforward here. 4 Badlands and a Swamp with a bunch of fetches and 4 Wastelands. So we're essentially playing the same mana base as a quote-unquote Delver deck, but we do have 8 baubles to help us out here. In the 2-drop slot, 4 Orcish Bowmasters to the surprise of no one. Then 4 Caustic Bronco. I originally wanted Dark Confidant in the deck, but that's simply just not going to cut it in the Bowmaster world. But I actually think this card is somewhat reasonable. You have a pretty low curve and you're frequently the aggressor in a matchup. So Caustic Bronco hopefully is a must-kill a lot of the time. You would have play patterns like play a first main phase Channeler or Nethergoyf you just drew, help it to, let's see what it's called, saddle the Bronco, attack, drain your opponent a little bit. But yeah, this is just going to hopefully be a must-kill that if I get to untap with it, we can kind of run away with things. Disruption-wise, 6 discard spells I think is what needs to happen, and then 8 removal spells. So whether you go like 7 and 7, I don't think that's a big deal at all. This deck is a little bit weak to combo as a result. But yeah, the removal spells, I'm going for removal spells that also attack the dome. I'm going for the most flexible removal spell. I'm going for the most aggressively costed removal spell. Snuff Out, same logic. We will be 9 out of 10 times the most aggressive deck in the matchup, so this card should be solid, right? Obviously, doesn't kill black creatures. That sucks. Wedded the Reliquary, opposing Bowmasters, Baragoyf, stuff like that. And then Molten Collapse is part of our package to beat Chalice of the Void and kill big creatures. So clear the way for the attackers, right? That's kind of the plan. Reduce the opponent's life total to 0, disrupt a mild amount, and yeah, try and do it to them. Sideboard, focusing heavy on graveyard and turn 0 interaction. Couple of pushes for any creature matchup. Couple of which is a good tool against any, whether it's a Storm deck or a Show and Tell deck or, something in between, Doomsday or whatever. This card is solid. A couple of Price of Progress. That's my favorite sideboard card out of this deck. Price of Progress will finish games that the 1-drop started. I think that's very, very valuable. A couple of Hexing Squelchers, which might look weird. So Hexing Squelcher is basically a card I have against Chalice of the Void. My deck is kind of weak to Chalice on 1. So it's just a reasonable card when they don't have Chalice, essentially. This could also be smashed to smithereens. I wouldn't be shocked for anybody to register that card. Deals damage, right? But yeah, this is 2-2. A couple of Pyroblasts for Show and Tell, Murktide, Tameo situations, and then a couple of Flutes for the Doomsdays, the Show and Tells, the One Rings, and stuff like that. So all in all, pretty well-rounded deck, but I'm also a little bit concerned about simply just getting outpowered by, I don't know, some bigger blue deck, some Beanstalk action or what have you. So yeah, let's see how it goes. All right, match 1 of the basement battle, and I play first, which is very important for this hand, because I think on the draw it becomes a lot worse. I will keep this hand, and I will turn 1 Inquisition, turn 2 Bronco, probably. So, solid start. Take a peek at the opponent's hand, play a Dark Confidant style card. Now, do I want to get Wastelanded here? I probably don't necessarily want to get Wastelanded. I think I want to play this card before the opponent gets 1 more Jaw Stab at a removal spell. So let's Inquisition, saving the fetches for later. Nice hand. Nice hand. We both have kind of speculative hands. Landsmarks you control have 0 proliferate. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose a... Basically, I should take the brainstorm here and deal with that card later. Also, tiebreaker of if Bosch gets to do cool things with that card, everybody wins, right? That's how it works in these. So let's see how Bosch can recover here. Things are going according to plan for me, at least. Here's Caustic Bronco, a card that I hope to kind of snowball. Here's Meticulous Archive. So in this case, the opponent has 1 million lands. So lands, I'm sorry, Wasteland doesn't look juicy, but it is kind of solid. Okay, I get Terminus here, which is probably quite good against my deck in general. Plains. Opponent has 4 cards I know about. All right. So I kind of need to draw a creature here. Otherwise, I think the stall favors Brian quite heavily. Okay, another Goyf is a creature. So let's Wasteland the opponent's archive. Yeah, probably the worst creature, but I can't really complain. Flooded Strand. So Brian has 1 unknown card still. Didn't want to play Mountain, didn't want to expose a duel. Makes sense, right? So here, I don't have Surveilla in my deck. If I had, I would have tried to pump the Nether Goyf here. Now I have to pass. I can't keep up the action here. So now I probably hang on to the Fetch because I play a Moonshadow deck. I think that's the logic. So here comes this card. Let's read again. Zero, it can proliferate, but that would be the the activation per turn, right? So this deck is trying to spam spells. Yeah, this is probably a problem. So that card is gone. Bauble. Okay, so another reason to hang on to my Fetch here. Let's see if I can draw a good card. I think Nether Goyf is fine. If I play out a land. Maybe I don't play out a land. All right, let's attack for 3. Next turn, play another Nether Goyf. Super slow, but I think it's better than a random draw. Thinning the deck here seems so bad. Okay, Brian still not doing super well for himself over here. Thoughtseize, that is a great card to lead with. So let's lead on Thoughtseize. Do I just see 1 million lands here? That's kind of funny. Okay, Naked Force. So we should probably leave our opponent with a Naked Force. Or is that even, does that even make sense? The Naked Force can counter my next play, but if that's true, yeah, I don't think I care about that. Maybe this card can help the game snowball. I'm really not sure about this. Kind of funny. So take that, leave Brian with the Force, play another Goyf. Sack him down to 10. Now the logic being if he's holding up Force and forcing my next play, he goes to 3, if not even 1, depending on the card type, I guess. And this just becomes a little bit weird. I also should note that blue fetches would enable Terminus, and I didn't think about that until now. Okay, well, I guess I dodged a little bit of a bullet there. Brian also knows if I had a bolt, I would have fired it ages ago to grow the Nether Goyf. I mean, all I can do is attack here. It's really a bad matchup for these cards. Let's see what Brian has going on here. 4 mana. Wow, that's a sweet one. Okay. But, okay, sure. So, Wandering Emperor, that's a good one. So, that one is exiled. Can't do anything about that. So now I will need to Molten Collapse that card. So let me just see. Can only kill one thing, so let's kill that. Sorcery I already had. Brian has land force. Don't remember the which land though. I think it's the volcanic. So I guess do I play out? Yeah, I guess I play this out. Yeah, no surveil land was brutal this game. Brian is on his way to stabilizing. Here's Bobble. I mean, let's see. Is he willing to do that? He's not. I said, ooh, so I guess there's no sanctuary. Or wait a minute. 1, 2. Maybe he messed up with the land sequence here. He needed the volcanic in play in order to return that card. Well, that's gonna at least stabilize Brian here. But if he's at 3, that helps a lot for me. All right. Pass. Hope to draw a good card. A Bauble. Wait a minute. If he's not playing that out, he's not running Mystic Sanctuary. He's not running Mystic Sanctuary. Interesting. Yep, let's just take the turn here. Orcish Bowmasters. That is a good one. Let's try and bobble over here. That is a terrible one. I will attack and then I will... should I Bowmaster? If I Bowmaster, it gets forced. Brian's at 2. Maybe it's better to have a better timing. Okay, here's Swords to Plowshares. Super annoying. So now I have to fetch so that I draw a random card. And I probably have to upkeep this Bowmaster. Let's see. Draw. Oh yeah, this is abysmal. I will cast the Bowmaster now. Force my opponent to tap out. Yeah, I mean, lands and removal spells are atrocious here. I need to draw creatures. Turn 9, baby. We both had... No, I shouldn't say that. I had a fine opening hand, like turn 1 into the horse, but the horse got killed, right? So here's Thoughtseize. Is that a card I should cast now? I think it is. Which is a little bit sad. Just kind of bad timing, but maybe we catch something here. Who knows? Is this a Brainstorm? Brian can cast Brainstorm here because he knows that I didn't magically have the Bowmaster earlier and then all of a sudden had a Thoughtseize. He knows these cards are blanks because he's deciphering the game here. So nice play, nice play. I can play a land out in case I need to hard cast a Snuff Out on this turn cycle. So here's the spell that Brian put on top. A spell that will... Okay, a spell that will not kill me. I think because I play Moonshadow, I take the turn here. Where normally you would hard cast Snuff Out end of turn, but it doesn't make any sense here. All right. Snuff Out, pass. This is a cool game, right? Okay, so Brian had actually a bad Brainstorm, just saving 1 Tameo. Yep, no Sanctuary, because the way he played earlier basically told us that. Yeah, now I don't have info. 1 unknown card. Oh, this is too funny. Let's see the unknown card, buddy. Nice. So now, I think I develop this because if I draw Moonshadow, I want to like grow it with all of my cards, but this is like super weird. What is this? Orcish Bowmasters. I think I should slam that card right now. I don't want my opponent to draw Force of Will. That's a very good draw. Okay, we still play the game. I have a 1-1. Pressure's on. Nice Inquisition. All right, let's see if Brian can do it. 2 life. This is high-level legacy gameplay. 2 decks, fire on all cylinders. Turn 13. Brian said, anything that you can do, I can do better. Yeah, that will probably do it. Plage, very, very good against what I presented this game. So now Brian is trying to figure out if he has a white source to fetch off of this Tarn. The reality of the situation is I can't beat this card. Oh, there's the planes in hand I forgot about. Perfect. So I'm basically just gonna pretend like I can draw something, and then I'm gonna concede here. Flage stabilizing here on turn 13, and here's the Wasteland. All right, nice game, nice game, very nice game to start off with. Very nice game to start off with. So let's see. Prize of Progress. Is that good? Who knows? Pyroblast, is that good? Like I have some cards here that you can consider. Snuff outs are probably bad, but I did see Tamios. But I think between bolts and Pyroblast and simply just being aggressive, I think that's enough. I also have Molten Collapse, which I'm not sure about. So this is a lot of cards. So probably Hexing Squelcher shouldn't come in at the very least. I think this card is a must kill for Brian. I think this card is pretty strong. And then maybe these cards. So that puts me at 64. Currently very bad against Flage. I don't have Void Walkers. Do I have like a reasonable way to... Maybe these prices are bad. If Brian goes for like stable mana. I don't think I have a reasonable way to hedge for Flage. I think that card is just... Unironically, it's a weak spot for my deck. Which sounds pretty funny. Terminus worries me out of Brian's deck. Lightning Bolt is good against Tamio and can, you know, go to the face. Am I cutting discard spells? Is that crazy? Maybe discard spells are good because they take like brainstorms that enable miracles. Oh. This card maybe. Maybe this is the card I need to cut. That was a tough one. Because this configuration is very bad against Flage, but if I start having like Surgical Extraction in my aggro deck, I'm not quite sure that does me any favors. I could see cutting like a Wasteland. I don't think that would be crazy. Cutting a Wasteland for a Price of Progress. Okay, maybe I should have done that. This hand looks fine. I'm leaning on Channeler Bauble Draw Step to find land. If I find land, I love my situation. If I don't find land, I'm probably losing. Sometimes there's high, let's say high variance or polarizing situations where that's going to be true. Let's put that into the graveyard. Let's draw a card right away. Brian probably knows I'm on land hunt here. Let's see if his deck has any, you know, agency when that is true. Basic Island, Ponder. So this is exactly the start I want Brian to have. Problem is I don't have a land to kind of capitalize on it, right? Brian likes those cards. I find the land. Okay, that's not bad. I should probably play this card. I think that's pretty good right now because it's kind of demanding a removal spell. It hurts a lot. Like, churning through this card is not good for the opponent. Like, if you have to, like, set up or whatever. Okay, I get forced here. That's not bad for me. Also, the Wasteland is out in the open. Brian knows I don't have other lands, because then I would have used those, right? So here's another Brainstorm. The Brian's hand was, let's say, churn dependent. So he needed to counter the My. That's pretty good. It's just like a good Eidolon card, right? Good stats. Unfortunately, I didn't get to Delirium despite cracking an artifact and having a creature countered. When you don't have a discard spell, you sometimes get into those spots. If Brian goes land Tameo here, I will do something about it, but he doesn't. Okay. Here's a Bauble. Let's try and get Delirium. Now the question is, am I getting Terminus next turn? And I think the answer very well could be yes. So let's see if we can get to Delirium here. That would be sick. That is Delirium. Okay, cool. So now let's have a look at a Narset. Okay, and let's attack for 3. So I think Brian planned this turn to Terminus me. Let's see if I'm right. If I get Terminus here, I don't. Okay, cool. Let's see what this means. So I should pass. I should draw. I should let my opponent go to the draw step, because, you know, that's where the Terminus will reveal itself in case he has it. And then I should let my opponent play. So drawing the land here is not bad. Here's a Ponder. I feel like this is Bowmaster time. If he has a Plow, that means the Channeler gets to live, all of that jazz. So I feel like if he had a Plow, he would already have killed this Channeler. Not sure, though, but it seems like it. Yeah, okay. Let's see, Brian shuffled here. So we're doing well for ourselves this game. 2 white, that's scary. Let me take the turn here. I think that's smart. Pyroblast, great draw. Let's try and get in for 6. We're getting dangerously close here, while Ryan is kind of scrambling. He did shuffle. Did shuffle here. 5 life. 5 life is not a lot, buddy. If I don't get swept here, I think I'm winning. So by that logic, I go land pass. Yeah, let's go land pass here. Because I think I'm playing against Terminus or Bust or Supreme, I guess. I think otherwise this is too much to handle. I am okay bolting end of turn to use my mana, because if Brian has some stuff to stabilize, I'll be happy about this. Another creature, so that means I can still double creature next turn. It's kind of the same. Okay, that's fine. Bolt resolving. Brian's at 2, so the Planeswalker thingy stabilizes Brian at 1. Because it kills the Channeler, and they go to 4, take 3. Okay. That's the Planeswalker thingy. So here, kill Channeler. That is fine. Go to 1. So now the Terminus is backbreaking, but I don't think Brian has it. So how do we turn the corner here? Or slam the door, rather. I like Evasion. Evasion should be good. I don't think I'm too scared of blue spells. I'm actually just going to use my mana here in Bronco. Also, with the way Brian's been fetching here, it kind of confirms to me that Price of Progress, it was the right call to leave in the sideboard, because when he has this luxury, he will do it. No Terminus. That's amazing for me. So, and no cantripping, no funny business. This looks like we will have a game 3. What did he learn? He learned about I learned about forces being in. This card is kind of annoying when you're sending big creatures into the red zone. Brian just making sure that he doesn't leave any crumbs on the table, notes whatever he learned about my sideboarding. So now I don't mind. The thing is, Wasteland actually casts 10 spells in my deck now. So it's slightly better now. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't mess around with it because my sideboard is not great. It's not like, oh, I had to leave out a great card. How can I possibly fit that card? It's actually quite bad. So you can argue that one surgical is like playable. This is a little bit rough. Because I feel like I can maybe cut a corner here and cut a Wasteland, you know. I'm on the draw. I have all the baubles. My opponent will never touch my mana. It's questionable on, you know, on the opponent's side as well because they have a lot of basics. Can I do anything smart here? Is Flute even good against Terminus? Then it's 4 mana Terminus. No, I don't think that's viable. I'm going to try one extraction, and then when I draw the extraction and have to concede the game on one land, you know, you can fire up the comments. I always have a lot of fun reading those. All right, game 3 on the draw. I have yet to see the best card in my deck, and here it is. Okay, cool. So the cool thing about this is we're kind of getting out of the gates somewhat nicely, but this will die a lot against my opponent's deck. Also very good they didn't Tameo here. Tameo's crazy. I wonder if I palm it into the yard. I wonder if I start wasting my opponent here. Let's see. What's the advantage here? Yeah, I get some advantages here, like randomly screwing my opponent over, and they have like a basic mountain or something, and they can't progress. Let's see the downside. Okay, Ponder is totally acceptable. Tameo, again, would have been annoying because it's kind of like we started the game all over. Triple land here is bad. I hope to never see any more. Well, that's very bad. This deck can probably not mana flood and win. I think that's just the situation. Let's play this. Let's see what's going on over here. See a Tarn. Am I supposed to... Yeah, I don't think Brian can turbo out an Narset, so I think this is fine. Draw. The opponent draws. Look at the next one. Another Tarn, but Brian can obviously fetch that away if he doesn't like it. If this card gets killed, I'm probably in trouble. If it survives, I'm probably doing well for myself. So yeah, I don't like this. I need to runner some spells here to be competitive, I think. Here's a Tarn. Here's a Tameo. So now I will do some action and basically find out if Brian has Plow. Let's draw some spells. That would be sick. Let me try and do what I can here to learn about the Plow. I knew about that card, so that was not really the smartest. Let's learn about a card in Brian's hand. 20% to see the Plow, if there is one. Blooded Strand. Okay, Brian has good mana. So I don't think he has a Plow, because then would have played that land. Okay, perfect. So now I can... If I believe in that analysis, that he would have played Blooded Strand to go get Plains in case he had a Plow. Let's see if that checks out. Let's fetch a Badlands. Let's play this card out. And again, if this got forced, my Moonshadow is a 7/7. Brian could also play like this because he wanted to disguise that he has a Terminus. So let's see if I can find some live cards. Not live cards, 2 good ones. Let's see here. Brian is now on blocking duty, so his hand is a little bit weird. Maybe he has a lot of 4-mana walkers. I don't think there's a Terminus in rotation over there, right? Let's think. When Brian cast Ponder, he kept the cards. That was turn 2 after getting wasted. This is now turn 4. Did he clear the Ponder yet, or does he have one card under it? Pondered into the card. Then so turn 2 he ponders. That means turn 4, which he just had, he drew that card. Okay, perfect. So sure, I can get blown out by a backdoor Terminus, but I'm going to try and go for the gold here. I will try and go for the gold. So let's attack with the boys. I might as well attack with the 2/2, I think. Let's see what this is. White. Dress down. Wait a minute. Dress down in response. I think I'm gonna grow these, but I'm not sure it's smart. Let's just take the swamp for the sake of randomly getting hosed. Okay, so Brian takes damage. So now he can chump block the 7. That's why he does it. Perfect. Then he takes 2, and then he has to kind of crush me, right? All right. I hope you don't crush me, buddy. No Terminus. But Brian keeps playing, so I'm a little bit scared here, I must say. Let's see. If this is a Supreme Verdict deck, so be it. That's how it goes. Could be a moat deck. Supreme Verdict deck. Okay. That is cool. Great play. Brian's at 4. I'm playing a Lightning Bolt deck. Okay, well, here's another Moon Shadow. So it's funny, I talked about not drawing Moon Shadow, then I drew 4 this game. So Brian now has to stabilize against a Moon Shadow. The Fairy, that's a good one. No Bowmaster in response. Brian was happy for that one. Moon Shadow back to the hand. Here's Ponder. Note that is, you know, normally you can instant speed it, but not when you minus. I have some good cards in my deck, but these are not those. My hand was my draw was funny this game, like really polarized Moon Shadow draw, and then because I saw the Terminus in my opponent's deck, I didn't consider Supreme Verdict basically. So that card lets the opponent proliferate to kill the shadow. Very nice. Yeah, I was sleeping at the wheel here, talking too much, but obviously I'm supposed to fetch here. So if I fetch here, Brian chooses his own card, and I get to keep my card around. But now he just gets to kill my creature because I was sleeping. That was cool. Huh? Let's see what Brian is working with over there. There's a Tameo in hand. Let's pass the turn. So we're getting pretty owned here. I think I needed to get my opponent to 2 life there and then hope to find a bolt before it's over. I think that was my, let's say, path to victory. Binning my Moon Shadow for nothing. Not the path to victory. Brian's now up to a ton of cards and can, at the very least, proliferate another Thoughtseize. I think I have to cast one and hold on to one. I have a pretty good idea I'm getting destroyed by any magic card in existence, but I think I have to take a peek here with the first one at the very least. All right, nose cards. Not beatable this time around. Let's play some more. Guys, last month I launched my YouTube membership program. You can become a YouTube Baron. For $5 per month, you get Metagame Monday After Dark, where I basically dissect all the numbers from Metagame Monday, turn them into actual solutions for us to win tournaments in the week to come. And then I have this juicy series with Eureka Eyes on the Prize, where we replay the 5 challenge finals every week. So basically, we get to see some championship action week after week. So that's 2 additional videos for the cost of $5 per month. I can highly recommend. But wait, there's more. When I get to 100 members, I will give away this awesome artist proof signed Kappa Cannoneer. Beautiful card, a retro frame hollow. If you want to be in that draw, go become a YouTube Baron. I hope to see you over there. All right, next up we have the Allurin deck that saw play recently. And by the time of this recording, it's actually been a week or so since I last looked at the deck. So let's try and catch up together here. The deck is trying to resolve either Show and Tell or Allurin. From there, Atraxa, Omniscience will lead you to the Promised Land. And if in the case of Allurin, we can Formidable Speaker, cast this card, discard a card, tutor a creature. We can Allurin into the Acererak, the Archlich. And I should have done my homework better here. I just assumed this card wins the game from the research. Like when I checked the deck, you can kind of keep bouncing this, going back into the dungeon. There's probably something draining life or whatever there. If this comes to it, I expect Brian to concede, or me looks foolish. So I guess both are pretty cool. Also, funnily enough, since I'm recording the deck text before we get to play, I wouldn't be shocked if I played against this deck out of Brian in round 1. But let's see if that prophecy comes true, or the hindsight, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this deck, ton of cantrips, pretty solid mana base. Stock ups for consistency, Force of Wills in a single daze for defense, and then yeah, we basically just try and draw our deck and see what can happen. A cool play pattern is that Show and Tell is a must counter, even if I don't have a fatty, because I could just put in Allurin, but if it gets countered, I still have Allurin in hand for next turn, so there's a little bit of Show and Tell plus Oath of Druids there. Sideboard is a couple of anti-graveyard hate cards with a single fairy, because Formidable Speaker in theory goes and gets fairy in a tight spot. The Veil Carpet Dynamic Duo against any blue deck, mainly tempo decks, negation against combo, and then some colorless Elemental Blast and Hydroblast for artifact shenanigans and red stuff. So this deck should be pretty fun. Let's see if Show and Tell into Omniscience attracts that can make life hard for Brian. All right, match 2 is upon us. The previous one was that was a fun one, right? Brian's deck was not the best, and I had some terrible draws, so we actually had some sweet games, right? And then he even get to get me when I was sleeping at the wheel. So all in all, I think the crowd won in that match. I think that's fair to say. That's what everybody wanted out of that one. With that being said, I'm looking at this hand. Playing the Allurin deck, this only has to find lands off of draw steps and ponders to actually get to a game plan. So I think this is fine. Turn 1 Thoughtseize is scary, because this could mean that Brian is playing Reanimator, and I just enabled him by putting Atraxa in my deck. It's funny when I play these, every logic is kind of out the window, right? Because normally you're like, oh yeah, Dimir Tempo or Doomsday or what have you, right? But here it's like, oh, you might play Reanimator. But that was not the case. Okay, taking Allurin there. Ancient Tomb is a dangerously good card, Because now my ponder is dead set on finding Force of Will, which is right there. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So let's go like this. Turn to Force of Will. I'm sorry, Show and Tell Atraxa. So that was like the perfect draw step into ponder. Let's see what Brian can do about that. Oh no. Mesmeric Orb. Wait a minute. So that means I'm milling. I'll let Mesmeric Orb resolve here. I think that is totally reasonable. I will now mill one card, which is a Show and Tell. Here, I shall Show and Tell Atraxa into play. Let's see. Emrakul. All right, I think that's gonna kill me here. Even though these cards are crazy. Does this let me, if I draw, what's it called? If I go Petal, Tomb, Brainstorm, and Ponder, do I then have a shot if I draw the... No, because I'm missing a land. What if I draw... It's so funny. If I had any idea about Mesmeric Orb, I order the Show and Tell and the Allurant the opposite way, and then I actually have... then I can actually have Show and Tell in hand, draw Omniscience, and win this game. But now I can't, which is incredibly funny that Mill 1 is making me cold here. Because now I need a mana source. I can't grab 2 petals. I need a mana source. I can't grab 2 petals. I can't grab 2 lands. So now I can't even draw the speaker, right? Yeah, this is... I don't have any outs here. Okay, that was cool. Emrakul in it. What is Emrakul doing in there? I'm trying to think. Emrakul. So I think my opponent is playing Mesmeric Orb, mill into Echo of Eons. So I would need Consigned Memory. But why is it a... I guess it's a black deck because of Thoughtseized, but why is it a blue deck? Is that just the Echo? Does that deck support Force of Will? I don't think it will. I don't think it supports Force of Will. I also think it's a 1 Emrakul deck, so lots of things that just should motivate me to try and repeat what just happened. is what I'm trying to say. Maybe Basic Forest is very unexciting here. I could see that. The Daze is probably unreliable. Let's go for Consigns. I probably should have, yeah, I should have added negations here, but I submitted like a clown. I don't know what to do here. Like, let's see. I don't even know what I'm doing here. The Show and Tell just backfired, and I'm scared, which I don't think I should be, but we got a couple of negations in the list. All right. A little bit of panic here. That was my bad. That was a really fun one, getting Emrakuled out of my own Show and Tell after I thought I drew the nuts. So now, should I have predicted this since Brian took Allurin off the Thoughtseize? Or was that just not something I could consider with, you know, the cards I saw with Ponder? Well, it's interesting to think about now that the punishment was so severe. This looks great because it allows me to Omniscience and can go that direction. Let's lead on Surveil Land because I would love to find myself a Soul Land so I can do a turn 2. Keeps the card. The Mesmeric Orb, I think I remembered some kind of Mystic Forge variant, which, you know, self-milled and won the game that way. So this card is good because it wins the game off of the omniscience thing. And it allows me to use Lore and Reveal as a mana source. I think I should do this now to look, let's call it less dangerous. Like somebody who's just scrambling for lands and I just found this. I think there's some value in looking not dangerous, essentially. Let's see here. Assault Monolith. Isn't that a combo with the Orb? Yeah, that's the combo. Okay. So now what if the opponent... Yeah, I don't think I can worry about that. I think I just have to play my game here. Play that, play that. Now, let us... Maybe I should just Allurin Speaker here. That's probably the... I don't really want to introduce weird stuff. But maybe I just did. Who knows? Oh, there's Force of Will. Sheesh. Okay, Force of Will. So it's a Force of Will deck that plays Basalt Monolith with the Orb to go and look for draw 7s. Sure. Sure, buddy. Yeah, this is cool. Lots of off metagame stuff going on here. I'm casting Allurin in 2026, and Brian is... Let's see. Let's see if he cooks me here. Another Basalt, 6 mana, pass. Okay. Should probably not be scared of this, but I can't wait to see this backfire. Let's try and put Omniscience into play. Here's Emrakul. Oh, this is great. This is great. So I think this card beats Emrakul. Now the question is, should I ponder first and try and find backup? Let's try that. Here's a ponder. And the champ finds backup. Okay, so now let's play Speaker. Discard Show and Tell. Search the Archlich. And cast that card. Okay, so this is where Emrakul, if I could just win on the spot, Emrakul just stone nothing, but I don't always just win on the spot, right? I have to also sometimes show and tell Atraxa. So that's why Emrakul's a good cut. Okay, so my theory here, Emrakul was a good cut because it's not a good naked show and tell target. And if I have Omniscience, it's frequently win more. So that was kind of the thought logic that I don't think I articulated very well because I got stressed out about submitting. Okay, so if I resolve Allurin Speaker, I win the game. Now, the thing is, I kind of have to prevent my opponent from beating me with stuff as well. Brian has a Force of Will deck, but does that warrant Veil of Summer? Is it more important to protect my kill or prevent Brian's kill? That's a lot of the thoughts I'm having right now. I think trimming a ponder is reasonable because I'm not getting thought seized. I sometimes want to hold up mana for Consign. My deck is sort of redundant. This is a lot of Atraxas and Omnisciences. I have a lot of show and tell payoffs. But maybe that's okay. I think my setup here is reasonable. Okay, let's try again. Got a little bit lucky there that Brian can only like spin wheels and counter a single time. This is what makes the matchup tricky, right? It's sometimes I have to play defense. So funnily enough, I think if this is Ancient Tomb, I keep this hand, but now I don't, which is kind of sad, you know, force and 1 mana from stock up, but I think I have to mulligan here. And this is a great hand. So the Ancient Tomb kind of makes up for the mulligan already, and then I can cast stock up. Okay. So maybe the card to put away here is Brainstorm. Because then we kind of have our show and tell payoff ready. Let's see what this is. My hand is actually decent against Thoughtseize. Also, a way to evaluate the Veil is, you know, we're on the draw, so it's bad against turn 1 Thoughtseize. I probably should have had it for game 2, but that was the problem for game 2 was it wasn't a confirmed Force of Will situation. Okay. The opponent's saying Force of Will can stop nonsense and force through nonsense. Stock up. Ooh, maybe that was the best draw ever. So now if my opponent plays an action card, I will negate pitching Atraxa, used to stock ups to rebuy. Remember, negation's only live. Oh, sheesh. So now I have to do this. I have to do this to protect my two stock ups. My opponent has a Force of Will here. It is what it is. Academy Ruins. What the hell? So the negation was an amazing draw. Now what? Oh boy. This is a show and tell and a Force of Will, and I have to take them, right? Right, guys? Alternatively, I take Force of Will and Formidable Speaker, and I become an Allurin deck. Okay, let's try that. Because now Force Pitch Atraxa is the move. Refill with stock up. Opponent has 4 mana. I don't mind about that card. Pass. Okay. I'll now cast another stock up. Fight over it if necessary. Speaker. It's funny. That card is currently a dead card. I was about to say Green Source Allurin is what I want here. Any order. Play land. So now next turn, I can Allurin with Force backup. So I will force any action card that beats me, like the Orb is what I know about right now. I'll quick resolve this one because I think my opponent can miss sometimes. And if I force here, a lot of bad stuff can happen. Could backfire. Let's see. Very nice name. Very nice name. That is tough. That is a tough one. I wonder how Brian arrived at that. That's pretty solid. Brian has 6 mana. Let's see. I think I play out the Allurin here. I think just having that card in play is solid. Because then at least I can, you know, Speaker off the top of the deck. Still have Force. Problem is, Brian knows about that. And there's an Academy Ruins, which I should have paid more attention to when building a game plan. Play land or have a better future brainstorm. I think play land is fine here. So worth noting is, with double pedal, I can hardcast Atraxa, but it's a little bit slim to say the least. Here's a land getting played out. I wonder if that card does anything, or it's just, I don't know, Brian wants to surveil and has bad cards, essentially. Let's see. Show and tell. I think I go for it, because if Brian puts in Emrakul, I still get a ton of hits here. 9, 12. Yeah, I mean, don't do it, Brian. Don't do it. Okay. Okay. Well, what can we do here? Lots of good magic cards. Enchantment is a free roll. Artifact is a free roll. Land is good. Stock up is amazing. Consign to Memory, probably the card. Maybe I'm supposed to take Ancient Tomb, Consign to Memory, because then I just have more mana left over, essentially. So, yep. Play land, play stock up. 3 insta kills in my deck. Spell Pierce. Okay. Spell Pierce is a good one. I will Force a Will to Spell Pierce. Still have a Consign. Let's see if there's a second. That would be sick. There's not a second. So we still have a game on our hands here. I'm at 9, but I have an Atraxa. What about ponder and consign? Any order, play that, pass. I should pass here. I don't know what I'm doing. These cards are bad. Brick. Okay, well. Same situation, I guess. So now let's see what Brian can do, because in theory, some artifacts can hit the bin, and this Academy Ruins can be bad for me. I'm pretty close to the finish line here. Cabal Therapy being good against one known consign is a problem, but I'm not sure how Brian gets creatures into play. Maybe I'll know shortly, who knows. Omniscience. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let me count the mana. Get in for damage, yeah, count the mana, so the Ancient Tomb doesn't hurt me too much. So let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 1 off. I'm not sure I should play a land here. I don't think that makes any sense. Is Heartcast Omniscience next turn ever on the cards? I don't think so. All right, let's try and pass here. It's up to Brian to power through double Consign of Memory before Atraxa finishes the game. And let's see, 9. Brian's at 13 mana. So Emrakul in hand is actually something I should think about. Can we close down the game? We can. Okay. So we drew that card. Brian has a counter. We attack. If he doesn't, we win the game. That was nice therapies, though. So this is just high-level play. The beginning here, Brian had a sick situation where he left me with double stock up because he knew he had therapy going, but I drew Force of Negation, and then I resolved a couple of stock ups, and I guess it's not this game, but oh, it was. Yeah, it was this game. Yeah, cool to see. Let's play one more. All right, last match here of the basement battle. I am signing up with Bant Merfolk. Yes, you heard that correctly. Bant Merfolk. We have some somewhat new tools here in the Waterbrine Trapper. It's essentially a Savannah Alliance that also does more stuff. It's a Merfolk. It handles fatties. That's pretty good to make sure we have a critical mass of 1-drops. Speaking of critical masses of 1-drops, 2 copies of Curse Catcher. This is by far the worst card in the deck, but I think it's necessary as a curve filler. We want a curve with this deck and either go turn 1 Merfolk, turn 2 Merfolk, turn 3 Merfolk, or turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, you play a 2-drop plus a Wasteland. Force of Will is the only backup, and yeah, the true names will shine against fair strategies. This is more, is this just 20 Lords? Yeah, this looks like 20 Lords here, with Hexcatcher being awesome against random combo decks, Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl, Triton, good against just random blue decks that was planning to block, right? And then we have the Duelist here, which lets me untap a Merfolk every attack step, so you can consider something like attack with true name, untap it, so it's on defense against a Baragoyf, play patterns like that, otherwise just a Lord. And then you have the Mistbinder here, which is literally just a Lord. So I don't think this deck is anything super special, but sometimes you can just play some creatures and Force of Will, a key spell, and ride off to the sunset. Sideboard, I'm trying to shore up some apparent weaknesses, especially against combo. Look at this. Quad Negation, double Deafening Silence, 2 Surgicals, couple of Consigns. Lots of tools against unfair. Some are very targeted, and some are very, you know, all over the place. Versatile was probably the word I was trying to look for. Then I have 5 removal spells here for when I'm playing against a blue deck where my Force of Wills are bad. Turn my Curse Catcher, I bring in 5 removal spells, and I try and play a little bit more of a, balanced game plan rather than just play my creatures and hope for the best. Only room for 2 Wastelands, which I'm a little bit sad about, but this deck really, really needs to develop its mana for its own stuff. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about the performance of the fan favorite here. All right, match 3 of the basement battle, and we have a very solid hand here. Basic Island is annoying. I'm playing Merfolks, in case you didn't notice. I think I'll fetch Tundra, play the Trapper turn 1, and then say, this is my Force Pitch, unless I draw a green later, right? Fetch Tundra. So funnily enough, I expect to be up against the Alluran deck here, which is kind of hilarious. Worth noting is that Hexcatcher can actually counter Alluran compared to Curse Catcher, I believe, Curse Catcher is instant or sorcery, I think. Not quite sure. So this is a pretty decent curve of 1-drop, 2-drop, hopefully 3-drop with force backup. Kind of what the doctor ordered when playing Merfolk. Oh, crap. Brian is playing the Birthing Ritual deck. That's awesome. Birthing Ritual. Yeah. That rocks. So I should attack here. Because I know my Hexcatcher is resolving. So let me just play this now. Does it have double force, right? This is a pretty cool card. 1/3. So Brian wants to counter my Lord. I don't think so, because that card in play is pretty darn strong. I counter the Flare. The opponent draws a card. Lord resolves, I would guess. Maybe not. Okay, Force of Will. Yeah, I'll keep going here. So now I'm all out of gas here, but I have some kind of counterplay for my opponent's game plan. I'm very bad against Oculus later. Brian is trying to get me to sacrifice a creature here. Not going to work. I basically put myself in the semi-dirt here, but I do have a lot of good draws. Ooh, Brian might need the mana more than me here. Let's see, can I draw a 2-drop? I cannot draw a 2-drop. So now let's attack for 4. I'm not getting wasted here because Brian needs this for Birthing Ritual next turn. I should hang on to this to try and basically, what do you call that word? Tempt Brian to fire Wasteland to leave me in the dirt. So right now he's saying, okay, my opponent drew a green card, a Naked Force, Naked Daze. I basically want him to make that assumption, and then hopefully he pounces with a Wasteland later that hurts him more than it helps him. That's the theory here of playing like this. I think any Merfolk there seals the deal. So yeah, I'm always rooting for cards that prolong the game. So it's not that I want to draw a blank. It's more, you know, the game goes on, and that's kind of cool. So good play by Brian here, leading on that card. So I can counter it, but that severely slows down the clock. Okay, I'm gonna allow this. Brian has no land. Interesting. Lord? Lord it is. I'm not sure Brian is a Daze deck, but I am sure that the game is about to end, so I should play like this. I also have Island Walk now, which is very important. Let's see what Brian can do from this spot. Island Walk is pretty brutal. Phantasmal Image. I bet Brian is simply just looking to turn that into something with the pod, right? Birthing Ritual triggers. Let's see what Brian can do here, because I do have 6 Island Walk damage. Has to be a pretty good one. Too late to wasteland your own tropical. Let's see. Brian keeps playing, so I bet there's stuff to do. Birthing Ritual. Okay, so now I think he's dead. Yeah, the Island Walker, boys. This draw was huge. The 1 brick I could take, but the second one being Lord of Atlantis, that was too strong this time around. Very, very cool double force crazy situation. I love my removal spells against that deck because the Oculus is such a big part of the deck. Ironically, I also like my forces because of Birthing Pod, so I can easily cut the Curse Catchers. Now, Brian showed Wastelands. Am I ever wastelanding him? Probably not. I think cutting one wasteland is totally reasonable. I might even cut 2 here, because they don't help me cast that many spells. Okay, I'll cut 2 wastelands. Let me cut a true name. Trim the curve a little bit. I think that is solid. Okay. Can even trim 2 and then keep a wasteland just for having a little bit more mana. Let's try this out. I think that Birthing Ritual deck, I've played against it, you know, in a bit more of a competitive setting, and the deck is quite annoying for decks that I like to play in a, you know, serious tournament. All right, we're up a game here against Mr. BoshNRoll. Game 2, match 3 of our awesome basement battle series here. Yeah, I really like these. Just getting to be just a creative in a little bit of a different way once a month. That's cool. That's a cool breath of fresh air. This hand is fine. I'm curving some merfolk. That's a bad draw. I need to stop having like a little bit land heavy hand and then draw one more. That's terrible. Let's play the speaker. This is never getting countered, so we can kind of save our cavern for the next one. These are not necessarily banger cards, but let's think. What kind of instant speed shenanigans is he working with? I think I just slam a lord here and then take it from there. So I guess let's go for the white one. White, blue. I'm trying to get in for 3 here. I think this is like lore scale, Codal, or whatever it's called. Not lore scale. Ice Fang, that's the one. Uh-huh. Untap. Let's see it. Here it is. Ice Fang Codal, which is kind of just like a sometimes baleful Strix card that is insane with Birthing Ritual, because you can't rip off of it, right? There's just a creature with good stats, pitches to force, pitches even to force of vigor, so that deck has a lot of cool things going for it. I should probably play it someday. Seems like a pretty cool deck. So this start is like, if my opponent is on non-Birthing Ritual stuff, we have a pretty good game. But if my opponent's on Birthing Ritual, I think I just get clowned on here. And I'm not even, I don't think I have any, like, that card is just so polarizing because my force wheels are bad against the rest of the deck, essentially. That's a good dismember, so this will attack, I would bet. Now there's a Warped Riddler. That card is great, but I think I have to use my mana slightly better. I have to go True Name here. So Tundra, True Name, Nemesis, uncounterable, and then next turn I go double Lord. Let's see how that works out for me. So the cool thing about this is like evasive damage, and even if it comes down to like the opponent dominating the board with what do I know, Oculus and what have you, True Name can kind of get the job done through that, which is sick. So next turn, I will allow my opponent to counter the Mistbinder, and then I will make the Hexcatcher unblockable. Brainstorm in this spot screams, hey, I'm looking for Birthing Ritual. Burrow, that's a sick one. So hopefully my opponent doesn't have any like power plays left here. Perfect. It looks like the opponent's on blocking duty now. Another Lord, okay. Let us play this card out. The opponent will realize I'm not tapping here, so I have a better Lord coming, essentially. Flare of Denial onto my Lord. So what I could do is sack 2 merfolks, but I'm not going to do that. This is fine. Blue, blue. Play this out. Get in for how much? Get in for 7. So Uro is pretty strong in this spot. My opponent will need a card in the yard to get to Uro. So fetch land needed. This looks like a Riddler. I guess that's better for me than the alternative, right? What happens if I play this Lord and I swing out? I think I just win the game. Yeah. So now I just slay my Merfolk and win. Lord, attack with the crew. All right, Merfolk takes it down here. I think this is exactly what happens here. If my opponent's on the back foot with Dismember and no Birthing Ritual, I should beat them with just spamming Lords. But if they have the Birthing Ritual, it's pretty darn hard. Okay, we made it to the end. Let's try and wrap things up with Brian. Guys, we are here with the recap. Another basement battle is in the books, Brian. And how did you? Do you think I was a good boy today with deck choices? Do you think your viewers will like my choices?
I think so. You definitely remain, and this is just like kind of a human experience of everyone can only do the best with their worldview, and
yeah.
You're in the streets getting sweaty, finding that perfect 15th sideboard card for tier 1 decks. Like that's what you do day in, day out. And I play the tier 2 and 3 decks day in, day out. So I'm in full bullshit zone while you're like coming down to where I normally play. And, you know, we can't expect you to come up with the insanity of the community. It's not even me picking my decks. My Patreon votes on these. So they're partially trolling me, partially living out their darkest fantasies through this. And
yes,
I'm coming in with complete insanity, and you're coming in with like, tier 2 archetypes that, though, once again, this is 2 in a row where you have registered for the basement battle, a deck that I've played in a real tournament. Because I played the Allure and Tell deck in a real 135 person legacy tournament for dual lands like 4 days ago. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I actually got a little bit of a hunch, or like you posted about it, something, and then I was like, during my deck techs, I think we're going to be seeing, the same deck and like the dredge thing on both sides, but you didn't like to play it here, but I was excited to bring it, but let's take us back to match 1. And yeah, by the way, thank you for acknowledging the fact that, we just come from different positions, right? So something for me is not natural. And then today I fought against that fear with my deck choices, and it was fun. So
and while my audience might expect pure insanity from both of us, your audience might wish I was doing something more competitive. So it's really the only thing, the only rule is it can't be on the top 15 front page of Goldfish, and none of us have ever broken that rule.
No. Yeah, and we're both happy, right? So that's the other rule that I care about, at least.
Correct.
So let's go back to match 1 for today. When Moonshadow got spoiled, I worked on some different builds. I liked it in a blue-black tempo build. I thought that would be a little bit too close to the sun for today. But the red-black version was like, it's great with channelers, it's great with baubles, 12 1-drops with Nethergoyf, you want bolts in your removal suite, and all of a sudden the deck almost built itself. I'm a little bit more mid-rangey with, discard spells, and I'm not all in with petals and stuff like the versions you see, but I like that deck a lot on paper, at least. And I was matched up against a weird Jeskai deck. So my first hand was abysmal, but then I saw your hand and I was like, hey, we're going to have a cool game 1 here. And that went to, I don't know, turn 20 or whatever. So maybe talk a little bit about your deck there, because mine was just meant to be red-black, aggro, get the opponent dead type of situation.
Yeah, mine is just some BoshNRoll deep lore. When Icar Moon Gauntlet first came out, is that card from March of the Machines? I don't know. It was a couple years ago, and it was a brew, just from a concept. It wasn't meant to be competitive. It was, can I build a control deck that wins without ever going to combat? And the original build had Prologue to Pheresis, the cantrip that gives your opponent 1 poison, and then you're just a Planeswalker deck. And, yeah. And then the Gauntlet gives all your Planeswalkers proliferate, so you're proliferating, your opponent's getting poisoned, you're taking extra turns, and there's a critical mass at which, I forgot the number, it's like 5 or 6 Planeswalkers where you take infinite turns. with Ickermoon Gauntlet as well. And then I've done a couple iterations of that over the years as people want to revisit it. It's still one of my most popular videos I've ever released, and it showed up in the voting this month among my patron, and this build was actually a little more responsible. I mentioned it in my side of the deck text, where there's a bunch of normal cards in my deck like Flage and Fourth Aerolingus, where I would have, if it was me, I would have built it no win cons, just planeswalkers, just infinite turrets. We'll figure it out when we get there, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was, you had some scary cards. You showed Terminus game 1, which changed a lot how I played. For instance, I think it's game 3 where you blow me out with the Verdict. I'm trying to replay in my head, like, which turn did you ponder? That was turn 2, because I wasted you turn 1, so you already drew through your ponder, so you're not stacking a Terminus under there. Well, I guess I have a quad Moonshadow draw with nothing else going on. Slam them and pass, right? So at that point, it was just a cool example of, I've seen Terminus, and I'm taking that into account, but the Verdict really got me there, to say the least. We also had some cool situations in game 1 where I'm thought seizing a hand with Force of Will and one of the enchantments, and I kind of leave you with the Force. So at that point, I'm basically saying this game will be over soon, so this Force is bad, but it actually ended up being quite reasonable, taking care of a Bowmaster or whatever, and ended up saving your bacon and then some. So I enjoyed that game a lot. That really got me hyped for the video. Great start. How was it from your side, grinding all the way back there?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That's the type of legacy that I would like to play. If I get to ignore the metagame and what decks are actually competitive, just basic island, basic plains, and ponder are kind of how I want to start building my decks. And that hasn't been the metagame for years now. And I started making content when lands, Delver, and Red Stompy were the top 3 decks. So a blue-white control deck with a ton of basic lands just beat all 3 of those. And the post-top Miracles era with Monastery Mentor as your Monastery Mentor as your win con, like that's sort of that's where this
Predicts
whole island ponder keep BoshNRoll slogan comes from. And this getting to play decks like that is nice, even though I would not register that at Eternal Weekend ever.
Yeah, I just enjoyed them for the sake of content, right? That's the big one. That there's like this, oh, I'm running you over, but you end up beating me with Flage, stabilize with Flage, blow me out with Verdict. Like, for me, that's just a cool storyline. If, let's say, I'm watching this as a neutral, then that's how I want the game to go, right? I don't want to see a red-black deck run over the other deck. That's not fun, right?
Right.
So
right.
For me, that was just a win for the show. And then we were on to the next one, where I brought the Aluren deck. So you brought it to a tournament you actually cared a lot about winning. I'm a bit more like, this is a cool take on making your deck more, let's say, threat redundant. So you dodge some show and tell hate, but then you introduce some more, Consign to Memory is amazing against your deck where it really wasn't before, like different stuff like that. So I consider the deck viable, and it should probably have pretty cool games. And I mean, you put an Emrakul into play, and I realized I was just dead. I think 1 mana. Funnily enough, I just remember this. The way I stacked the ponder, I had the perfect draw step Ancient Tomb, and then the perfect ponder Force of Will. I thought, hey, I'm golden here. But the 2 cards underneath I stacked, it ended up being super painful because you played the Orb, which then milled the Show and Tell, and then I drew a bad card, and I needed that Show and Tell to rebuild post the Emrakul. Obviously, I have no idea of knowing this, but it was just a fun fact that if I alternate those 2 or I get sloppy or whatever, that Show and Tell wins me the game after getting hit by Emrakul because I hit like Ancient Tomb, Petal, Omniscience, whatever on my Atraxa. So
you're at 17, so I think you were dead anyway, unless you had a City of Traders. I was counting too, and
sick. I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I said if you were at 18, you still could have won that game after all that. Yeah.
You're absolutely right, because I fetched turn 1 and I tombed turn 2. Yes, you're absolutely right. Okay. Well, I guess there's that touche, but a very, very cool run out. Just getting, and I was like, this Emrakul must be a one-of. This must be some Orb, Basalt Monolith, mill over, draw 7s, do it all over again. 1 Emrakul to finish with. But I don't know. What does that deck look like?
That's actually 4 Horsemen, which is a deck that is banned in paper because it doesn't work in the tournament rules, but you can still play it on Magic Online, where the chess clock solves it, where you're supposed to get the Orb and the Monolith and then mill your deck until you hit your Narcomoebas and Sir Conrad the Grim and Dread Return before you hit Emrakul. because Emrakul will reset
Oh,
your reanimate
crap.
targets. Right.
Yes.
But what you get in exchange is it doesn't lose to graveyard hate, because if your opponent ever activates Soul Guide Lantern or whatever, you just mill till you hit Emrakul, shuffle your deck away, then start again. So you can't lose to graveyard hate, but it doesn't work in the rules because you can't say after 100 iterations this is what the game will look like, because the Emrakul's in there randomly. So my Patreon likes to send me that deck once in a while just to put it back on the radar of the universe. And you actually just get slow play warnings until you lose if you try to play it in real life.
So how do you win? If I guess you hardcast Emrakul at some point, or what's the
No,
because you were at 13 mana in the last game here.
You dread return Sir Conrad, who says if a creature dies or goes to your graveyard from anywhere, or leaves your graveyard from anywhere, or leaves your graveyard, your opponent takes 1. So then once
and then you keep going.
Yeah, you just mill Emrakul and ping your opponent twice per Emrakul that shows up. Yeah.
Okay, that is amazing. I just love like the backfire of stuff like show and tell, and like we forgot to mention you got me with the proliferate thing with against the Moon Shadow, which was amazing because you cast Dress Down that game, and I was like, wait a minute, does this kill it? Is this how it works? No, it actually, quote unquote, good with Dress Down. It just removes the menace. You want to save life. Okay, I nailed that one. And then because that proliferate just kept targeting things that didn't do anything, right? So it was a perfect time to have me sleeping at the wheel. So I enjoyed that one. Getting my guy killed there didn't exactly help my chances when I needed to finish the game with like Bowmaster Bolt or whatever.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to work harder because you had 2 fetch lands, but I could still proliferate to wash out one of the fetch lands. But then I also have a spell in my hand that can add a -1 counter to your Moon Shadow. I also have Swords to Plowshares if I just need to kill it. Or if you play a second creature on your turn, I can kill that one and proliferate the Moon Shadow to make it smaller. And there was I was never losing to that Moon Shadow, but it was great that I got to kill it for completely free.
I needed that to drain some resources so I could get over the finish line with the rest of my draws, essentially, right? But yeah, that was just I needed to mention that one. That was a sweet one. It's always catch people sleeping at the wheel like that is always great. So let's see. Match 3, I was signed up with Merfolk. I spent a little bit of time working on that, but you basically just end up with, it's just creatures with Force of Will backup at the end of the day, and then you hope that True Name either dominates the matchup, or the Hexcatcher can dominate a matchup, or Island Walk matters, I guess. So I got all 3 in the matchup here, where you played the Birthing Ritual deck. I have played against it once with like the Mere Tempo, and I thought it was really hard. Maybe it's because my opponent had good, Birthing Ritual, Oculus draws. Like, what's the let's say the draw to that deck? Because it also can play some extra counter magic.
Yeah, you get a lot of free counter spells because Flare of Denial. You have, I think it's 11, maybe 12 creatures in the deck that cost 1 or 2 and draw a card either when they enter or when they die. So the Flare of Denials, you get a bunch of extra counters there. And normally it's not a big deal if your opponent's an aggressive strategy and you don't have your Birthing Ritual right away, because you have Ice Fang Coatls and stuff to absorb that damage and pull yourself ahead. But blocking is part of the plan. And you had Island Walk in game 1, and you had True Name Nemesis in game 2. And game 1, we went to the mat over your Lord on turn 2. You had double force. I had Flare plus force. Or you had, was it triple force then? I don't know. You won the fight.
I had double force. You had flare force.
Okay. Yeah.
And I played the threat, right? So it worked.
Right. So it's like you had no cards in hand, and my hand's excellent, but my mana is Tropped Wasteland, and then I brainstorm and miss, and then I'm 1 turn behind stabilizing later. So it was it was really tight. I think game 1 was mine to win, but obviously, Magic sometimes brainstorm is not demonic tutor. But
I get what you're saying. It was a weird one where I got to spit out everything double force, and then you bricked just enough for me to get over the finish line.
Yeah, I basically died to Savannah Lions.
Yeah, which is not something to be proud about.
Right.
The Uro I was actually scared of in the last game, but you were 1 card short. You went for Riddler, right?
I could have just cycled off a Daze, like tried like Daze your spell that you cast through Cavern of Souls anyway. Like if I Daze picking up Hedge Maze, that puts Daze and the Surveil card into the graveyard if I wanted to build a bigger plan around Uro. But at that point, I was still able to stabilize. You dumped out double Lord on the last turn
Yes.
to make it
Yes.
super lethals, but
don't you just lose to one Lord as well in that spot?
yeah, maybe that might be true.
I think that was my analysis of it, where that's why I felt like I dodged one a little bit when you played Riddler, because then my Cavern and one Lord is just enough, where Uro would actually potentially complicate things. Because I can't attack with my small creatures. I can,
Right.
and True Name is not the best racer necessarily. So I was just lucky that I dodged a card in your graveyard at that point, but I could have missed a detail, of course.
Yeah. If I think I was still trying to get my engine going, and I hadn't pivoted onto I need Uro or I'm gonna die. I could have had Uro that game if I was willing to obliterate resources to get to that spot.
Right. Yeah. Maybe, so maybe I can misremember, or maybe like you missed the detail and had like the sense of urgency and didn't quite nail it. But yeah, I just could play some amazing fast creatures out. I don't think I had Island Walk that game.
No, you had True Name, and you had a creature
name
that was just too big. You had a 3/3 on turn 2, and then True Name on turn 3.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was just putting a lot of pressure on your, let's say, normal mid-range draw, where you had to use Dismember to not die, where it was kind of like, it was slightly better to Dismember than take 2 hits, but it wasn't all that much better, right?
Yeah.
And then, bad removal spells are bad, and sometimes you lose a creature race. But yeah, this was cool. I thought we had great games. Sometimes we have some, not great games, like the play a mountain, pass the turn, nothing. But I guess that was a fun one to talk about as well back then. But this time, at least, we got to go to turn 20. We got to see some cool races. We got to see Flage win games of Legacy, Supreme Verdict killing a million Moon Shadows, and sweet dress down place. I love that. Take away Menace and bolster your life total. Lots of high level stuff from my point of view. Did you have any cool details like from today that you want to highlight?
Yeah, that one game where you had the quad Moon Shadows, I had Supreme Verdict in my opener, and it was just kind of like, hold on for dear life, do whatever I have to do here. And I think your second land that game was Wasteland, but there was just like a face-up Wasteland, so I couldn't even fetch Surveil, and I had to float fetch lands or only get basics, and had to navigate that. And if you ever Thoughtseize me, I lose on the spot because I'm all in on Supreme Verdict.
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
The May Scornful Striker was like,
oh yeah, you had to force her.
That was worth a bunch of damage, even though I had the cleanup ready. So like I had to dress down and then also Verdict into her, and even after the Verdict, I was still like Bolt plus Bowmaster at any point. I'm dead. So
that was a game on the edge. Yeah, you're right. That was a very cool one. I don't think I have much more for today, Brian. I enjoyed it as always, and I was happy with the scheduling lining up so we could deliver the people some basement action.
Right, we're a week late, but we didn't forget you.
Absolutely.
Sick. Well, as always, if you're watching on my side, go check out Eco Baronin. If you're watching over there, come check out BoshNRoll, and we'll be back next month with another battle from the basement.